When you hear the name Mr. Dog Food, the first thing that comes to your mind might be a person who loves dogs or someone who owns a dog food production company. You might probably be forgiven if you thought that was the case. However, you would be very wrong. This is the story of Ralo Stylz, otherwise known as Mr. Dog Food, and how he became Atlanta's biggest drug dealer. Born on the 12th of February 1995 in Atlanta, Georgia, Ralo started his life under his birth name Terrell Davis. It was only as he got older that he more commonly began going by his stage name Ralo Stylz, which he adapted from his rap career. Ralo was unfortunately not given the best start in life, merely because he was born into an area that has been stated as the most dangerous neighborhood in Metro Atlanta and the fifth most dangerous in the entire United States of America. Most commonly known as The Bluff, the area is located around the English Avenue and Vine City neighborhoods. It has been described by multiple magazines as an open-air snow market, snow being the code name for heroin. One reporter even recalled being chased down by dealers as he drove through the area, with them all battling for first crack at the new customer. But drugs aren't the only problem. The Bluff is notorious for having a high crime rate, with violence being a staple of the area's day-to-day proceedings. This area of Atlanta is so bad that an average house only costs around $10,000 to buy. As you can probably imagine, growing up in an area such as this didn't allow for many opportunities for people to improve their lives, and Ralo wasn't an exception. With his own dad being a kingpin dealer, Ralo was pretty much guaranteed to follow in his father's footsteps. From a very early age, he was in and out of juvie for a multitude of reasons, including drug dealing, armed robbery, and even kidnapping. Before reaching adulthood, Ralo claims to have been sent to jail 32 times. Well, there was a reason behind it. Like in most areas with high crime rates, there were a few gangs that ran The Bluff, but the one that Ralo pledged his allegiance to was Famerica. His gang went on to be named Atlanta's #1 deadliest street gang for 2 years in a row. As Ralo entered his teenage years, he was already out on the streets and dealing with his dog food. For those who don't know, dog food is street slang for crack. However, Ralo had big dreams for his life. He wanted to make money, and a lot of it. So, he quickly went about building up his street cred, dealing as much as he could, earning as much money as possible. By the time he entered his 20s, Ralo claimed that he'd earned over $12 million by dealing on the streets. But this wasn't necessarily a good thing for the young man, and pronouncing it so proudly to the entire world would definitely come back to haunt him. By 2012, Ralo had taken to social media to begin posting what would become his most signature and iconic posts. These posts would include the young man posing in front of the camera surrounded by huge stacks of cash, all money he'd earned through dealing crack. However, after a short stint in prison, Ralo emerged from behind bars deciding that he wanted to try to take his rap career seriously. He had started rapping at only 11 years old, but with his main hustle being on the streets, it wasn't until one of his last times in juvie that he decided he wanted to try and focus on his music career. Ralo began working with his childhood friend and fellow rapper, Young Scooter. On the 3rd of November 2014, the two released their first track, Stay Focus. Then, on the 26th of January 2015, they released their second track, Faux Show. However, trying to break into the rap scene was quite difficult at the time. Ralo knew that he would need to spend a bit of money if he wanted to become one of rap music's big names. So, taking some of his drug money, he decided to approach rap superstar Future to ask him to feature on his new song. At first, Ralo didn't know how he was going to approach Future, as he was notorious for not wanting to talk to people who he didn't think were worth his time. However, in a strange turn of events, Ralo was able to befriend the rapper because of his jewelry. Supposedly, Future loves anything to do with jewelry, as long as it's expensive, of course. And with Ralo sporting a chain worth over $30,000, he was able to capture the big man's attention. After allegedly paying Future $25,000, Ralo was able to feature on his new song, Can't Lie, which dropped on the 4th of May 2015, and became an instant success. Today, Can't Lie has over 7 million views on YouTube. That song was the one that started to put Ralo on the map in the rap world, and was eager to keep going, releasing multiple songs and even an album. However, with his increase in popularity, he began to face some issues in relation to his affiliation with his gang, with news articles claiming that he was part of a dangerous criminal organization. Ralo tried to change people's perception of Famerica. He claimed that it wasn't a gang and that he'd repurposed the name to start a foundation and community outlet in his area. However, this claim was soon proven to be untrue as time went on. The perpetuation that Ralo was still a drug dealer and in a gang was not helped by the fact that, on a very regular basis, the up-and-coming rapper would post pictures and videos of himself surrounded by hundreds of thousands of dollars. not really the type of money he would be earning so early on in his rap career. Of course, it goes without saying that these pictures would come back to haunt him in the future. The year 2016 saw Ralo's rap career on the up and up, with lots of social media posts showing off all his money. It truly looked like the Atlanta rapper had managed to break free from his dire childhood home and create a better life for himself. But before long, Ralo was once again boasting in interviews about how he'd made over $12 million on the streets before becoming a rapper. He even claimed that he'd made more money dealing than he did rapping. Nevertheless, Ralo went on to release numerous new songs in 2016, with lots of them featuring famous rappers who were well loved in the industry. By this time, Ralo started to flex on social media about how he owned around 5 houses and 26 apartment buildings on his block in The Bluff. These apartment buildings were actually where Famerica would carry out all their gang operations. Not suspicious in the least, right? It was clear that no matter how successful Ralo became, he didn't want to end his ties with his past. As 2017 rolled around, things were really picking up for Ralo. On the 12th of February 2017, he announced that he was going to become Atlanta trap legend Gucci Mane's latest signing partner, joining his 1017 Eskimo record label. This was a huge deal for Ralo, as it meant that he had pretty much made it as a rapper. On the 25th of April 2017, Ralo released a song titled Ralo Escobar, which seemed to hint at the fact that he was still a kingpin at the Atlanta drug scene. Not the smartest move when you've got police dogging your heels. He also stated in an interview with Mixtape that the apartment complex that his gang lived in was referred to as Pakistan, and he claimed that they still didn't sell any drugs from them. Instead, he stated that he provided everything his gang needed out of his own money. Still, if that was true, I don't think the police would be as interested as they were in him. And clearly, Ralo knew he was on their radar, as he claimed in a post to social media that the feds were following him everywhere. This didn't stop him from posting pictures and videos of himself with lots of money though. He even happily dissed the police, claiming that they could do nothing to him. Eventually, Ralo even stopped trying to pretend that the money he was posing with was from rapping. Instead, he posted a short clip to social media where he can be seen holding a large bag of cash and claiming that he's made all the money in 20 minutes on the streets. To make things even more incriminating, he also showed off his fam goons, who were toting machine guns. Probably not the smartest move, but then again, Ralo had rarely taken a moment to reflect upon what he said on camera. He seemingly couldn't help himself when it came to antagonizing the authorities or flexing his drug money. As if it wasn't enough, he took things to the next level on October the 9th, 2017. That evening, Ralo had been driving around in his Lamborghini when he was pulled over by the police. During the traffic stop, Ralo took to Instagram Live and began making a video where he mocked the police, claiming that they made no money. He then told them that they should work for him selling dog food. Not really facing any repercussions for his traffic stop impromptu video, Ralo finished 2017 by dropping one of the biggest tracks of his career, a song called Lil Cali and Pakistan. This song was named after the base of his gang operations and gained him over 23 million views on YouTube. But things were about to take a drastic turn for the rapper. With all of the money that Ralo had been making, and all of the indirect claims that he was still selling dog food in his songs, the rapper had gained a lot of attention from the authorities. But guess what? Ralo himself had no idea. On the 18th of December 2017, Ralo and tens of his fam goons boarded a private jet from Fulton County Airport to Sacramento, California. The authorities were documenting the entire time. A team made up of ATF, FBI, and Georgia State Police members tracked the jet as it traveled to the new state. Then on the 22nd of December, only a few days later, the feds watched as Ralo and his team unloaded 37 suspicious-looking packages from the plane and onto a van. To make things even more incriminating for themselves, the gang had ordered the crew not to touch any of the packages under no uncertain terms. Not wanting to give their position away too early, the feds allowed the gang to leave the airport. They then trailed the van from a distance before pulling it over for driving without headlights. Clearly, the gang's attempt at being sneaky wasn't quite sneaky enough to escape their tail. After checking the van's details, it was clear that it was registered to Ralo's address. After searching the van, the police discovered the 37 packages they'd seen being offloaded from the jet. Inside the packages were 520 pounds of weed, allegedly worth $1 million. Unfortunately for the cops, Ralo wasn't in the van, but his ID was found in a bag in the vehicle. The rest of his fam goons who were present, though, were all taken into custody. But instead of laying low after the bust, Ralo once again took to social media in a display of blatant self-snitching. In his post, he claimed that he'd just lost $1 million in one fell swoop. You know, the same amount the cops had just recovered from their drug bust, and whilst they hadn't arrested Ralo, you can guarantee that they were simply biding their time and collecting all the evidence that they needed. In the next few months after the bust on the van, Ralo would spend his time making social media posts displaying his vast amount of wealth, along with dissing the police, of course, and claiming that they couldn't touch him. But it seemed like the police were amping up the stakes as well. In February 2018, Ralo posted an Instagram live of him picking up his Lamborghini Aventador from the police pound lot after he'd been arrested for a few days earlier in a traffic violation. Then on the 24th of February, his tour bus was pulled over and searched by police. It truly did look like they were busy building a case against him. However, Ralo didn't seem to understand what was happening and kept on posting mocking videos and pictures about the police. However, things finally came to a head in April 2018, and on the 14th of April 2018, the ATF and FBI received information that Ralo and some of his fam goons were about to repeat their drug trafficking routine. They had a private jet charter to go from Atlanta to Sacramento, California again. Once they landed in California, police then tracked Ralo's mobile phone. It turned out that Ralo had gone to the infamous Murder Mountain in Humboldt County. This was the famous cannabis-growing hotspot that had been made famous in a Netflix documentary of the same name. It was also clearly the area where Ralo and his men were sourcing their drugs from. After completing their trip, Ralo posted on social media on the same day of him and 5 men and 1 woman about to get onto the jet. On the 15th of April, when the jet finally touched down back in Atlanta, the feds were waiting. As soon as the jet had come to a complete stop, the police jumped into action and arrested the passengers. Upon seeing the officers on the tarmac, Ralo quickly shut the jet door and refused to come out. After not following police orders, the officers were forced to forcibly open the jet door. Once that was done, they even sent in a canine unit to secure Ralo before taking him into custody. With all of these suspects arrested, police were free to search the jet. Upon doing so, they discovered 17 suspicious packages. They all turned out to contain at least 25 pounds of weed, making the haul weigh around 444 pounds altogether and worth roughly $840,000. Only a couple of days after the bust, on the 17th of April, a full indictment was handed down to Ralo. The police also obtained permission to search the apartment complexes Ralo owned and where Famerica operated from. Needless to say, they found quite a lot of evidence there, including a gun belonging to Ralo. But even being caught red-handed didn't stop Ralo from hustling. Whilst waiting for a court date, he continued to release new music, and apparently even continued running his drug empire according to the police. It probably didn't help that the music he was releasing clearly had anti-police vibe, considering one of the tracks was called 12 Can't Stop SHIT, 12 being slang for the police. There were multiple attempts by both Ralo's lawyers and his fans to get the man released from prison. Several petitions were even created, gaining over 50,000 signatures, including from rap stars such as Drake, Lil Baby, and T.I. The petitions were to the president himself, asking him to release Ralo. Obviously, though, these didn't really go anywhere. On February 19, 2019, rumors began circulating that Ralo was going to be offered a plea deal with 5 years to be served in jail as part of the plea. However, Ralo allegedly rejected this offer, claiming he wasn't going to fold. Finally, on the 6th of January 2020, Ralo was set a bail. It was $250,000. He would also be subjected to an ankle monitor, a 24-hour lockdown in a designated property, and he couldn't be allowed to communicate with the outside world via phone, email, or social media. However, just before the bail was about to be agreed, police were given new information. It turned out that Ralo had still been dealing whilst he was in prison. He had apparently been using his Apple Watch to do so. Finally, in March 2022, almost 2 years after he had been arrested, Ralo was given his trial. However, the verdict wasn't what he wanted to hear. The rapper was sentenced to serve 8 years in jail, but the time he'd already spent in prison was taken into account, as well as rewards for good behavior. So, all in all, Ralo would only end up spending 5 years in prison from the date he was arrested. After serving his sentence, Ralo was released from prison in November 2023. According to him, he has already spent over $2 million in 2 months since being released. He supposedly bought his friends and family new cars, as theirs had all been seized by the police during his arrest. Whether or not Ralo has learned from his time in prison is difficult to say. It's pretty likely that he'll continue to release music, but whether he'll continue his business on the streets is anyone's guess. Hopefully, he'll simply focus more on the music and less on the drugs. But it is very hard to say, given his history of selling drugs. Though, if anything does happen, you can guarantee that we'll keep you updated about it. If you don't want to miss any future videos about Ralo, make sure to hit the like, notify, and subscribe buttons. Also, let me know your thoughts on this video by leaving a comment below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.